Are you interested in some spicy new deck tech? Well, here's your host, Capital G!
And ladies and gentlemen, Capital G back at it, bringing you Isshin, Two Heavens as One, coming from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. Great Mardu attacking matters commander. But before we dive into that, of course, if you like and enjoy what we're doing on the channel, then please like and subscribe. And also come join our Discord group, Dungeons and Cardboard. We get to play lots of Commander, lots of Flesh and Blood, Dungeons and Dragons. We've also got threads for Minecraft, Halo, Destiny, so be sure to come check that out. It's our LGS away from our LGS, and it's free to join and free to play. We've also got a lot of great content creators on the group, such as Bulldog, Original Caesar, and many, many more. So be sure to check out the Content Creators tab once you join the Discord group and see what they've got going on various platforms, including YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, and others. And I guess last piece of homework, be sure to ask questions for the Q&A. This is going to be the last video where I ask for some questions. I'm hoping to fire off the Q&A video sometime in the middle of the coming month of March. So last call for questions. If you have any questions about me, the game, the content we do, be sure to post it and we will answer those questions gladly and happily. On that, let us move on to the deck tech. So Isshin, Two Heavens as One. White, black, and red for this 3/4 human samurai. If a creature attacking would cause the triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, it triggers an additional time. Not the first time we've seen this in the past few months. Just as recently as Forgotten Realms, we got Wolfgar in Grill colors, which does a similar but not quite the same thing. So why would you play one over the other? In the case of Wolfgar, he's a little more expensive to cast. He only cares about your creature's triggering abilities, but also has built-in melee. Whereas Isshin does not have any self-imposed payoff, or any payoff like printed on itself. However, it can actually cause triggered abilities of other people's attacking creatures to trigger your permanents. So, yeah, that's one reason there. Also, Mardu gets different toys to play with compared to Gruul. So let's see what those toys are. And what are the Two Heavens, by the way? Well, in the context of this deck, our Two Heavens are going tall and going wide. We have lots of cards that reward you for attacking with just the one creature and going tall. We have lots of cards that reward you for going wide and attacking with, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 tokens. And just going nuts on triggers. So those are the two harmonies that we're going to be playing with here. I took a blended approach. If you prefer one tactic over the other, go for it. I took a blended approach here, but if you prefer to go wide, go wide. If you prefer to go tall, go tall. My blend here, we'll start with some artifacts. It begins with the Alchemist's Vial. We're going to be going to combat a lot. This will help us win a combat that we're not supposed to. 2 mana for this artifact. When it enters the battlefield, we get to draw a card. Yay. 1, tap, sack the vial. Target creature cannot attack or block this turn. Arcane Signet for the mana fixing. Commander Sphere, same thing, and also the incidental card draw. Delver's Torch. Now, I don't think this is a great card when you're triggering the venture into the dungeon once per turn. When you're triggering it twice, that's when it gets good. Haunted Cloak, 3 mana for this equipment. Equipped creature gets Vigilance, Trample, and Haste, and it's only 1 mana to equip it, so that is fantastic. Key to the City, makes a creature unblockable, and whenever this becomes untapped, we can pay 2 mana to draw a card. Lightning Greaves, because we're not targeting our creatures too often with spells or abilities, so let's protect it the best we can. Mana Geode, taps for all of our colors, gives us the Scry. Network Terminal. 3 mana for this mana rock, taps for mana of any color, or you can pay 1, tap this, and another untapped artifact we control to draw, then discard a card. The Reapers Talisman, this is one of those examples of going tall, shall we say. 1 black equipment, only costs 2 mana to equip, and equipped creature, whenever it attacks, it gains Death Touch. Only 1 instance of Death Touch matters, but that's besides the point. Whenever equipped creature attacks alone, defending player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. So anything to insulate your life total and protect you from the crackback, Amazing. With that logic in mind, Shadow Spear, granting us the trample and the lifelink. If you don't have the budget for Shadow Spear, because it's become quite the card. Other enablers exist, of course, but I went with Shadow Spear because I happen to have one. The Sigil of Valor. So this is the nice way of harmonizing the go wide and the go tall strategy. 2 mana for this equipment with only a cost of 1 to equip it. And whenever equipped creature attacks alone, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each other creature we control. And yes, that's a triggered ability that grants that, which means it would trigger twice with our commander out on the battlefield. The Sigiled Sword of Valoran. 3 mana to cast, 3 to equip. Equipped creature gets +2/+0, has Vigilance, and is a knight in addition to its other types. Notice we're using the word Vigilance a lot. Whenever equipped creature attacks, we get a 2/2 white knight creature token with Vigilance that's attacking. That's a triggered ability that helps us go wide, that triggers twice. Soul Ring, of course. Sword of the Animist. 2 mana to cast, 2 mana to equip. Whenever equipped creature attacks, with our commander out, get 2 basics. Yes, please. And the Traveler's Amulet rounds it out, lets us go get a basic to help fix our colors in the early going. Onto our creatures, we're going to start with Adeline Resplendent Cathar. White 1 for the star force, star being the number of creatures we control. Has Vigilance, and whenever we attack, for each opponent, we get a 1/1 white human creature token that's tapped and attacking that player or planeswalker they control. Nice. That's a trigger that doubles up, so we're going to get 6 tokens, 2 per opponent. Adriana, Captain of the Guard. Notice that Wolfgar had built-in melee, but Isshin did not. She solves that problem. This is a huge go-wide reward. Akai Ronin. Red and 1 for this 1/3 Goblin Samurai. Whenever a samurai or warrior we control attacks alone, we may discard a card. If we do draw a card, again, that triggers twice so we can filter through and get the good stuff when we need it. And my feet are falling asleep on camera, so there we go. Life problems aside, let's go on to the Ankle Shanker. Interesting timing for this card to come up. Mardu and 2 for this 2/2 Goblin Berserker with haste. When it attacks, creatures we control gain first strike and death touch until the end of turn. No point in doubling up that trigger, it's just nice to have, especially when you hit the go wide phase of the game. Bane of Ballagette. Some people are talking that this should be an Eldrazi commander, and the reason for that is Annihilator, or abilities similar to Annihilator such as the Banes, where whenever this attacks, defending player exiles 2, make that 4 permanents they control. The Brutal Horde Chief. This is a great go wide payoff here. Black and 3 for this 3/3 Orc Warrior. And whenever a creature we control attacks, defending player loses a life and we gain a life. Also, we could pay Boros, and 3. Creatures our opponents control block this turn if able, and we choose how those creatures block. So, win all of the combats. Chain Flail Centipede. When this or the creature it's equipping, because it's one of the new reconfigure cards. Equipment Insect. So, whenever this or the equipped creature attacks, it gets +2/+0 until end of turn. So this can swing for 6 on its own, or if we throw it onto, say, our commander, because we need to attack with one big thing, it's still going to get +4/+0. Crashing Drawbridge. Give the team haste. Yes, please. Itali. 3 opponents, plus our commander, plus this. We're going to be exiling 8 cards and casting whatever our favorite spells from those 8 cards end up being. Pretty sweet. Godo. When this enters the battlefield, we may search our library for an equipment card and put it onto the battlefield. If we do, shuffle our library. Yes, this is famous for the combo with Helm of the Host, making it a very powerful CEDH strategy. I do not own a Helm of the Host, so I did not put it here. But this is a good place to tuck in your Helm of the Host if you happen to have one. Because you want Godo and you want those extra attack steps. Because whenever Godo attacks for the first time each turn, untap it and all samurai you control. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase. So yes, you do in fact get the 2 additional combat phases the first time Godo attacks. The trick, of course, is keeping your samurai untapped, because Godo will untap your samurai the first time, but not the second time. So make sure your team, or at least your key attackers, have vigilance, so you can take advantage of that extra attack step. Hanweir Garrison is in. This is a great attacker. Red and 2 for this 2/3 human soldier, and whenever this attacks, we get to put 2 1/1 red human creature tokens onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. Melds with Hanweir Battlements. So what's a Hanweir Battlements? If you've not seen this before, this is coming from Eldritch Moon. They have this thing called Meld, where if you have the 2 key cards in play and you meet certain conditions with those 2 cards, they meld into a big, scary Eldrazi thing. So in the case of Hanweir Garrison, it wants to meld with a land, in this case, the Hanweir Battlements. A land that taps for a colorless, or we can pay a red, tap this, target creature gains haste. Already a pretty sweet card as is. Red, and 3 tap. If you both own and control Hanweir Battlements and a creature named Hanweir Garrison, exile them, then meld them into Hanweir the Withering Township. Mwah ha ha. I did pull this off once. It's hard to do in a game without, because I'm not running tutor, so it's hard to actually do, but I have pulled this off once, and it is a great feeling when you can get this meld in. 7/4 with trample and haste, and when this attacks, we get 2 3/2 colorless Eldrazi horror tokens onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. By the way, that trigger can in fact be doubled by our commander. Moving along, let's go on to Icing Death, Frost Tyrant. White, and 2 for this 4/3. You've seen me run this in other decks. It has flying and vigilance. There's that word again. When this dies, we get to create Icing Death Frost Tongue. It's a great little artifact, a great little equipment. Let's bring that up here. Equipped creature gets +2/+0. Whenever an equipped creature attacks, tap target creature defending player controls and an equip cost of 2. So it's actually a pretty good piece of equipment. So it's a good flying attacker / blocker in the early going. But when it dies and we get the equipment, that means whenever the equipped creature attacks, we get to tap 2 creatures the defending player controls. Awesome. Moving on to the Imperial Subduer, coming from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, a sweet common here. White and 2 for this 3/2. Whenever a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, tap target creature you don't control. So again, if you're just going tall and you just happen to have this out, swing with 1 creature, 1 big massive creature. And again, tap down 2 of our opponent's creatures. Kazul, Tyrant of the Cliffs. The best example of a payoff for you when your opponents attack you. So red, and 3 for this 5/4 Ogre Warrior. And if a creature an opponent controls attacks, if you're the defending player, create a 3/3 red Ogre creature token unless that creature's controller pays 3. This does trigger twice with our commander on the battlefield. So depending on what our opponents are willing to do, we're getting 2 ogres per creature. This is definitely going to keep our opponents from attacking us, or if even they try to fly over us, it just builds up our army. Morbid Opportunist. Creatures are going to die. We're going to draw cards. That's what this is here for. Planar Ally. Once again, a creature that has a sweet trigger that lets us venture into the dungeon. 5 mana for a 3/3 Angel that does not have vigilance. Does not seem worth it, perhaps, but again, I thought it'd be fun to plow through a dungeon like 2 rooms at a time. Ryu, Storm's Edge. It's actually a pretty cheap rare. It's only like 25-30 cents at time of recording. White, red, and 2 for this 3/3 Human Samurai with First Strike. Amazing. He's probably one of our best attackers. Whenever a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, untap it. If it's the first combat phase of a turn, there is an additional combat phase. And yes, this gets doubled. So much like Godo, this lets you get 2 additional combat phases. So be sure you've got some vigilance going. Selfless Samurai. Whenever a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, it gains lifelink. But we can sack this and have another creature we control gain indestructible until end of turn. That's cool. That's what we're running it for. Taranika, a Crone Veteran. Never thought you'd see this one in a deck. White, white, and 1 for this 3/3 human soldier with vigilance. And whenever this attacks, untap another target creature you control. Until end of turn, that creature has base power and toughness 4/4 and gains indestructible. That's actually really good. Obviously, if you've got ways to... You throw some equipment on there, make sure that Taranika can come home from combat. And it's pseudo-vigilance, basically. You swing with Taranika and something else. And that something else untaps. And is indestructible until end of turn, so sweet. What's that something else we want to attack with? Well, our final example, Thundering Ryaju. Ryaju is probably not how you say that. It's probably Raiju. Red, red, and 2 for this 3/3 spirit with haste. When it attacks, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. Then this deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of modified creatures you control other than Thundering Raiju. Pretty sweet. We're going to modify our creatures. We're going to zap our opponents twice each time this attacks. Moving on to enchantments, we have a lot of artifacts, so we're going to start with a lot of enchantments. We've got 14 enchantments, actually. So because we're running so many, the first one we're going to look at, of course, is All That Glitters. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact and/or enchantment you control. This is great for the go big part of the strategy. Angelic Benediction. If we're attacking with one creature, well, this has Exalted, so whenever a creature we control attacks alone, that creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. A trigger that, in fact, doubles. And whenever a creature you control attacks alone, you may tap target creature. Another trigger that can be doubled. Angelic Exaltation. 4 mana for this enchantment. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. Again, can be doubled, can make your attacker humongous. Be sure to give it trample. Brave the Sands. All your creatures have vigilance, and each creature you control can block an additional creature each combat. Sweet. Campaign of Vengeance. This can put in some work if you're going wide. Black, white, and 3. Whenever a creature you control attacks, defending player loses a life and you gain a life. Fervent Charge. Doesn't matter if you're going tall or going wide. This is awesome. For Mardu and 1, whenever a creature you control attacks, it gets +2/+2. Wait, our commander doubles this. +4/+4 until end of turn. That is an amazing Anthem effect. Hard to beat. Grasp of the Hieromancer. 2 mana for this aura. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1, and whenever it attacks, tap target creature defending player controls. Twice. Mardu Ascendancy. Black, white, and red. Whenever a non-token creature you control attacks, you get a goblin that's onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. Twice per non-token creature you swing with. And then you can always sacrifice this to give your board +0/+3 until end of turn, whenever you need it. Nahiri's Machinations. White and 1 for this enchantment. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control gains indestructible. And you can always pay a red and 1 to have it deal 1 damage to a blocking creature. So this can definitely put in some work if you're going wide or protect your biggest attacker. Shiny Impetus. We can go to an opponent's creature with this, or we can just throw it onto one of ours and get the double triggers. Red and 2. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and is goaded, which means it must attack each turn if able and must attack an opponent other than you if able. And then whenever enchanted creature attacks, you create a treasure. I don't mind throwing this on my own creatures and just swinging away, honestly. Sparring Regimen. Here comes the spice. White and 2 for this Strixhaven enchantment. When this enters the battlefield, learn. Obviously, we cannot bring a card from outside the game into our hand, but we can discard a card to draw a card. So that's a great ETB just for the ability to, rummage for a better card. And whenever you attack, put a 1/1 counter on target attacking creature and untap it. We can do that twice, by the way. Spirit Mantle. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has protection from creatures. Tempered in Solitude. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, you exile the top card of your library and you may play it this turn. Again, if you're attacking with just one creature, this is a great way to get some card advantage. Unquestioned Authority rounds it out. It draws us a card on ETB and gives the enchanted creature protection from creatures. Moving on to some instants, we want to protect our board, so let's start with Blacksmith Skill. 1 white, target permanent gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. If it's an artifact creature, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. The +2/+2 is very, very rare that we'll get that buff, but everything else about it, the card is already awesome enough as is. Crackling Doom. Force each of our opponents to sacrifice their biggest creature and deal 2 damage to each of them. Flare of Faith. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. If it's human, it instead gets +3/+3 and indestructible. Our commander just happens to be human, after all. Fracture, of course, to destroy an artifact, enchantment, or planeswalker at instant speed. Ride Down. Destroy target blocking creature, and then creatures that were blocked by it gain trample until end of turn. Nice. Swords to Plowshares. Just because for when you just need something gone, it's gone. Temur Battle Rage. Target creature gains double strike until end of turn. If their power is 4 or greater, they also gain trample. Tragic Slip. Target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Or something died and it gets -13/-13 instead. I was so glad to have this in a game. I was able to knock out somebody's Avacyn. Unbreakable Formation. 3 mana for this instant. Creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. And if you cast the spell during your main phase, you can put 1/1 counter on each of those creatures and they gain vigilance. Again, there's that keyword. Let's go on to source. Let's go on to our 1 planeswalker. We're going to do the Wanderer. Prevent all non-combat damage that would be dealt to you and other permanents you control. Sure, protect yourself from the burn spells. Protect your creatures from the burn spells. Let's do it. Also, -2, exile target creature of power 4 or greater. Nice little removal as well. Thought about putting in the new Wandering Emperor card, but went with this instead. And just 4 sorceries in the deck. Cosmotronic Wave. Deal 1 damage to each creature our opponents control. And those creatures cannot block this turn. Open the armory. Go get an aura or an equipment card. Put it into our hand. Painful Truths. Just draw some cards. Up to 3 cards as long as we're putting all the different colors of mana into it. And Relentless Assault. Red, and 2 to untap all our creatures and get another attack phase. That just leaves our lands. So with that in mind, we're going to be running all 3 of the Karoo lands, the Guild Karoo lands, such as Boros Garrison. Command Tower is here. Rock Me If You Got 'Em, Ijanjo, Seat of the Empire. Comes into play untapped, taps for a white mana, and has the channel abilities. In the case of Ijanjo, it deals 4 damage to an attacking or blocking creature, and its channel cost is reduced by the number of legendary creatures you control. Exotic Orchard. We've already talked about the Handweir Battlements and what that can do. 7 mountains, a Nomad Outpost, it's all our colors. Orzhov Basilica. Path of Ancestry. It gives us all our colors and lets us scry whenever we cast a human or samurai. 7 plains. The Rakdos Canarium. Roadside Welcry. I think we're running enough artifacts and enchantments to get 2 cards off of this. So of course this comes into play untapped. It taps for a colorless mana, or we can pay 2, tap and sack this to draw a card if we control an artifact, and draw a card if we control an enchantment. Sokenzan, Crucible of Defiance. Gets us a couple of spirit tokens with haste when we need them. Sunhome. Target creature gains double strike, seems good. 7 swamps. Taknuma, Abandoned Mire. Lets us mill 3 cards and get a creature or planeswalker back from our graveyard to our hand. And lastly, the Zephyrian Void. And on that, we come to the end of Isshin, 2 Heavens as 1. What do you all think of that one? Do you prefer to go tall or do you prefer to go wide? Leave your comments about that and some of your card suggestions and cool attack triggers to double up on. In the meantime, I'm going to head off here. Not sure what the next deck tech is going to be, but I am announcing sort of a new format. I'm going to be doing something called the first 10. And what I'll be doing with that is I'll be taking, I'll be alternating between older and newer commanders, and suggesting perhaps the first 10 cards that you should, set aside in order to really spice up that deck. I'm not going to talk about the Soul Rings or Arcane Signets or anything like that in there unless they're especially good with that commander. No, I'm going to be talking about, the spice, the ones that make the deck what it is, the cards that go especially well with that commander. If you care about putting your commander into play, you're going to want to care about these cards, such as the concept. So I'm going to do an intro video soon to go more into depth on the concept of the first 10. And then the first commander that I will do, I think it's going to be Okiba. So yeah, that's coming down the pipe soon. I'm not sure what the next deck tech is, but the first 10 will be coming soon, as well as the Q&A video. So with that in mind, I'm going to get going here, get ready for work. Enjoy your week, and we'll see you again next time. Bye for now.